I'm sitting in a room that is finally quiet, really quiet. Not the kind of silence that hides secrets, but the kind that comes after a storm has stripped everything bare. My name is Adrian, and for a long time I thought I was the architect of my own life. I thought I built the walls, the roof, and the foundation. I didn't know that the person sleeping next to me was slowly pulling the bricks out, one by one, waiting for the whole thing to crush me. We all like to think we'd spot a lie if it was staring at us in the face. We think we know the people we share our beds with, but sometimes love isn't a warm light, it's a blindfold. If you have ever poured your soul into someone who turned out to be a stranger, or if you are holding on to a relationship right now that gives you a cold feeling in the pit of your stomach, don't ignore it. You are here listening to this for a reason. Join us here. It doesn't cost you money, but staying silent might cost you everything else. Commit to hearing the truth even when it hurts. I ran a logistics empire out of Seattle. Hale Shipping wasn't just a company, it was 20 years of grit, sleepless nights, and dealing with people who wanted to see me fail. I was good at reading people across a boardroom table. I could spot a bluff in a supplier's eyes from 50 feet away. That was my pride. I thought I was untouchable because I was smart. Then there was Simone. She was the contrast to my gray industrial world. She was vibrant, artistic, the kind of woman who could walk into a rainy day and make it feel like spring. We met at a fundraiser for marine conservation. I was writing a check. She was organizing the gala. She didn't care about my net worth or the fleet of ships I commanded. She cared about my tie being crooked. That simple gesture, reaching out to fix me, hooked me instantly. I didn't know then that she was fixing me just to break me later. Simone didn't come for money, and she never let me forget it. She liked to say she was allergic to pretension. Early on, she refused expensive gifts. She wanted time, not diamonds. That made me trust her. In a world where everyone wanted a piece of my pie, she seemed content just to sit at the table. When we discussed marriage, my legal team was brutal. They drafted a prenuptial agreement that was essentially a fortress. It stated that anything I earned before the marriage stayed mine, and anything we built together would be split only if we remained faithful. I almost fired my lead counselor for how harsh it was. I was embarrassed to show it to her. But Simone, she signed it without reading the fine print. She looked me in the eye and said, "I'm marrying Adrian, not Hale Shipping." I believed her. I would have bet my life on that signature. 5 years into the marriage, the rhythm changed. It was subtle, like a shift in the wind before a squall. Simone started taking more trips, artistic retreats in Europe, gallery openings in New York. She said she needed space to breathe, to find her own identity outside of being Mrs. Hale. I wanted to be the supportive husband. I founded her gallery. I encouraged the travel. I stayed home, managing the ports, dealing with union strikes and fuel costs, telling myself that a modern marriage meant giving your partner room to grow. I didn't notice that her growth was expensive. I didn't notice the withdrawals from the joint accounts were hitting the daily limits. I was too busy keeping the business afloat to realize my lifeboat was leaking. It was our 5th anniversary, the copper anniversary. I wanted to do something intimate, just us, away from the galas and the noise. I booked a table at the Obsidian, a place perched on a cliff overlooking the Pacific, about 2 hours outside the city. It was isolated, romantic, and expensive. Simone seemed on edge that night. She was wearing a deep red dress, looking stunning, but her leg was bouncing under the table. She kept checking her watch, then smoothing her expression whenever I looked up. I asked her if she was happy. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She reached across the table, took my hand, and said, "I just want everything to be resolved, Adrian. I want peace." I thought she was talking about her stress. I didn't know she was talking about my funeral. We ordered a bottle of vintage wine, something from the cellar that cost more than my first car. Simone insisted on pouring it. She made a toast to new beginnings. It sounded sweet. It sounded hopeful. But looking back, I realized that new beginning meant her life without me in it. We assume that evil looks like a monster. We think it grows. But sometimes evil strokes your hand and tells you they love you while they load the gun. It's hard to admit we've been fooled. It feels shameful. If you're sitting there right now, feeling that heavy stone of doubt in your chest about someone close to you, acknowledge it. Don't bury it. Pressing that subscribe button isn't about metrics for me. It's a promise to yourself that you won't let the wool be pulled over your eyes anymore. It's a signal that you're ready to see things as they are. Dinner ended and we got into my SUV. I was driving. Simone suggested we take the scenic route back, a winding road that cut through the ancient forest before hitting the highway. She said she wanted to see the moonlight on the pines. I never said no to her. About 20 minutes into the drive, the dizziness hit me. It wasn't like being drunk. It was sharper, a metallic taste flooding my mouth. My vision started to swim, the white lines on the road splitting into 2, then 4. I shook my head, trying to clear it. I don't feel right, I muttered, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. Simone didn't panic. She didn't ask if I needed a doctor. She just watched me, her silhouette dark against the passing trees. "Pull over, Adrian. Let me drive," she said. Her voice was steady. Too steady. I was grateful. I pulled to the shoulder, stumbling out, the gravel crunching loudly under my dress shoes. I barely made it to the passenger seat before the world began to tilt violently. She got behind the wheel. I expected her to turn around, to head back toward the nearest hospital. Instead, she drove deeper into the dark. I drifted in and out of consciousness. I remember looking at the dashboard clock. Then I blinked and time had jumped. 45 minutes later, the smooth hum of the highway was gone, replaced by the jarring bumps of a dirt track. We weren't going to the hospital. We were nowhere. The car stopped. The silence of the forest was heavy, broken only by the ticking of the cooling engine. I tried to lift my head, but my neck felt like rubber. "Simone," I slurred, "however, where is the doctor?" She turned off the headlights. Darkness swallowed us. "There is no doctor, Adrian," she said. She didn't yell. She sounded bored. She opened her door and walked around to my side. The cold night air rushed in as she yanked my door open. "Get out," she commanded. It wasn't a request. It was an order given to a dog. I fell out of the car, hitting the wet earth hard. Mud soaked instantly into my suit. The pain in my stomach was a twisting, burning knot. It felt like I had swallowed broken glass. But the pain in my chest, the emotional rip, was worse. My wife, the woman who had straightened my tie at the gala, was standing over me with a flashlight, watching me right in the mud. "Why?" I gasped, clawing at the dirt. I needed to understand. It didn't make sense. We were partners. We were a team. Is this a joke? It was a pathetic question, but my brain refused to process the reality. The poison was shutting down my motor functions, but my hearing was razor sharp. I could hear her sigh, the sound of a woman inconvenienced by a cry. "I owe people a lot of money, Adrian," she said, crouching down, but not touching me, not the bank. "Bad people, investors in a venture that didn't exist." She laughed, a dry, humorless sound. $7.5 million. I gambled it on futures that crashed. They gave me a deadline. She shined the light in my eyes, blinding me. "Your life insurance is $10 million. The prenup stops me from getting your business assets in a divorce, but as a widow, I get the payout. I get the sympathy. I get a clean slate." She had another man, of course. She didn't say his name, but she mentioned we. "We need this fresh start," she whispered. She stood up. "It's a heart attack, Adrian. That's what the autopsy will say. Stress, high blood pressure, and a tragic roadside emergency where cell service failed." She kicked my phone away into the brush. She got back into the car. I tried to scream, but only a gurgle came out. The engine roared to life. A sound that usually meant safety, meant going home. Now it meant death. She reversed, the tires spinning mud onto my face, and then she drove away. The taillights were 2 red eyes fading into the black, leaving me alone with the cold and the wolves. The cold in the Pacific Northwest is wet. It gets into your bones. I lay there paralyzed, feeling the rain start to fall. It mixed with the mud on my cheek. I thought about my company. I thought about the legacy I wanted to leave. I thought about how stupid I was. I started to hallucinate. I saw my father standing in the trees, shaking his head. I saw Simone laughing. My heart was slowing down. Thump, thump. Huge pauses between beats. I made peace with it. I closed my eyes and let the darkness take the rest of me. I was ready to go. The light, Not the white light of heaven, but yellow, piercing LED beams. I heard the crunch of tires, heavy tires, not a luxury SUV, the truck. Doors slammed, voices. Over here, I saw a reflection. Hands grabbed me, rough, strong hands. He's barely breathing. Get the kit. I cracked one eye open. The face hovering over me was blurry, but I knew the voice. It was Victor Vance, my biggest competitor. The man who tried to buy me out hostilely 3 times, the man I hated. Hang on, you stubborn bastard, Victor growled. You don't get to die on me today. I woke up 3 days later. I wasn't in a hospital. I was in a private medical wing of Victor's estate. The walls were mahogany, the sheets were high thread count, and the security was armed. Victor was sitting in a leather chair reading a newspaper. You're lucky I own land out here for hunting, he said without looking up. My toxicologist says you were dosed with a derivative of foxglove. Hard to trace if you don't know what to look for. I tried to sit up, but the room spun. Simone, I rasped. She thinks you're dead, Victor said, and for now, we're going to keep it that way. Recovery was hell. My body fought the residual toxins for weeks, but Victor gave me something better than medicine. He gave me a strategy. He became my ally. It turned out he respected me more than my own wife did. We watched the news together. I saw Simone playing the grieving widow. She wore black perfectly. She cried on camera, pleading for information about my disappearance, suggesting I might have wandered off due to work stress. She was organizing a memorial service. It was a master class in manipulation. Every tear she shed was a nail in her own coffin. I just had to wait for the hammer to drop. Victor hired private investigators, former intelligence officers. We dug into Simone's life. We found the debt. We found the investors, who were actually loan sharks operating out of Macau. And we found the boyfriend. His name was unjustifiably regular, Paul. He was a spin instructor with a gambling problem. We tracked her digital footprint. The searches for untraceable poisons, the burner phones, the text messages to Paul saying, it's done, we're rich. We built a file so thick it made a thud when I dropped it on the table. We didn't just have evidence, we had a narrative that no lawyer could tear apart. The trap was set for the reading of the will. I had a death in absentia clause that triggered a preliminary hearing for asset release. If the body wasn't found, but death was presumed probable. Simone pushed for this, desperate for the cash to pay off the sharks. The meeting was at my attorney's office in downtown Seattle. Rain lashed against the glass skyscrapers. Simone arrived with her lawyer, looking somber and fragile. Victor and I watched the live feed from the security cameras in the next room. She signed the papers claiming she knew of no reason why the insurance shouldn't pay out. That signature was her final mistake. That was the fraud. The lawyer, who was in on it, nodded to the door. We have one final witness to verify the estate details, he said. Simone looked confused. Witness? Who? The door opened. I walked in. I wasn't wearing a suit. I was wearing jeans and a jacket, looking alive, healthy, and angry. The color didn't just drain from Simone's face, it vanished. She looked like a ghost. She tried to stand up, but her legs gave out, and she slumped back into the chair. Adrian, she whispered, her voice trembling so hard it cracked. My God, you're alive. She tried to pivot, tried to fake joy. Save it, I said, my voice cold and flat. I tossed the file onto the table. The poison, the drive, the 45 minutes you spent taking me to nowhere. The boyfriend, the debt. Police officers entered from the rear door. Detective Miller, a man I'd known for years, stepped forward. Simone Hale, you are under arrest for attempted murder, insurance fraud, and conspiracy. She started screaming, not crying, screaming. She lunged at me, her nails aiming for my eyes. You ruined everything, she cried. You selfish prick. The facade of the loving wife dissolved, revealing the monster underneath. They dragged her out in cuffs, kicking and cursing. The trial was short. The evidence was overwhelming. Simone was sentenced to 20 years in a maximum security facility. The prenup held firmly. She left the marriage with $0. Her debts were her own, and I imagine her creditors in Macau were not happy about her incarceration. I rebuilt my life. I'm closer to Victor now. We actually merged parts of our companies. I learned that family isn't blood or marriage certificates. It's the people who pull you out of the mud when you're dying. I walk differently now. I listen more. I don't ignore the gut feelings. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you were giving everything to someone who was giving you nothing back, don't just walk away from this feeling. Subscribe to this channel, not for me, but to join a community of people who refuse to be victims anymore. We look out for each other here. You are worth more than the lies people tell you. Never forget that.